Howard Douglas Gale.
Howard Douglas Gale. Okay.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands of far and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my
May peace prevail on earth.
Who put that in, Doug? Did you
I put this in?
You put it in.
Yeah, I bought it. I'm
Nice.
going to take it down to the nature center. That, and I have a big dove, and put it down at the nature center. It's where people can really see.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
So this house here was built by my father-in-law,
Wow.
and about 1926, I think.
Okay.
And then Dorothy June was born in this house. I got out of the service. I came out to Pueblo. I had an uncle, Bill Coos, who had a gas station down there. My uncle invited me to come out, and after I got out of the service to come out, he had a job. I needed a job.
And what year was
And
this that you got out of this?
40s, 45, 46.
45.
I was in World War II.
And where were you stationed?
And I was on Tulagi,
Tulagi?
which is just across from Guadalcanal. And I was on PT.
There's your hat,
got
U.S.
this
Yeah.
for me, yeah. And this has the number of my boat, 283. And
Let me take a picture of that.
the interesting thing about that is this adds up to 13. I was born on Friday, the 13th of July.
Wow. Was it voluntary then, or was it a draft, or how did it come
Well,
about that you got in the service?
I could have been drafted. I didn't. I joined up. My dad had, he joined the Navy, enlisted in the Navy in 1908, I think it was. And then he was in the supply corps. With that, he had to supply munitions and food and so forth, all these different things. But he made the Navy his career, and he worked his way up to be a commander in the Navy from an enlisted man, which was really great. But he was stationed in Philadelphia this was before December 7th, and one of his jobs was to get rid of all this armor plating that had been on the battleships and so forth. And battleships had been decommissioned, and they wanted to get rid of all this armor plating. And Guess who got all the armor plating?
I don't know. You're not your dad?
Japanese.
Oh, and so what did they do with it?
Used it in their battle wagons and
Wow.
and that. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
With a valuable.
Well, he really felt bad about it, but there wasn't much that he could do. He was just following orders. And so it was all given to them, and then on December 7th, well, it came back to us. It was, 1943? Was that the...
Okay. Wow.
Dorothy June and I were married in 1949. So we had 63 years we were married.
Wow.
And we were married right by this cedar that you see. We had our first child, Dottie Ann, and we lived in, there's an apartment over the garage that we lived in for a while. And I taught school, and that after I got out, I taught school out in Baxter, which is just east of town. Are you familiar with where Baxter is? And I had two facilities that I had to, I was made principal. And I had, and then I taught the 6th through the 8th grade, and I have a regular school on the just off Highway 50, and then over at the air base, this was the old Pueblo air base, they had buildings where they had the first kindergarten through 4th grade.
Wow.
And that, and so my job was to coordinate all these and be principal, and then observation, and that basically everything is destroyed. I mean, I can't think of one good thing that's good about war.
Yeah.
And when I was coming home, we went from Zamboanga. They flew us by plane to Leyte, which is in the Philippines too. In Leyte, we were given a physical. GI Bill was in effect, and they really, as I say, treated us well. But on Leyte, as I was getting my physical, this doctor said, "Well, how long have you been over here?" I said, 2 years. And didn't say any more in that, but then as I was sitting there and I listened, and I heard a doctor ask, I think he was a Marine, how long he had been there. He said, 4 years. 4 years without a break. Then I told myself, don't ever feel sorry for yourself. There's always somebody that's had it worse than you. I don't think I could have lasted 4 years.
What was there? What was that? It was an island? Or
In the
In the
Philippines.
Philippines. And so what was there? Were we...
In Leyte, this is where they had just had a base to go from there to Japan and that. And they had naval base. And, so always places there were Japanese that were still in the jungle, I guess you might say. As the Philippines have lots of jungle on. Well, really angry at the Japanese, and we had Filipino soldiers who captured Japanese, and then they'd cut off their head and paraded around to show everybody what they were doing, which I didn't think that was too good.
No.
But the Philippines, before the war, were a part of the United States. I mean, this was a lot like it wasn't a state in that, but it was a territory of the United States. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but they themselves, when you were stationed there, were they welcoming, do you think, or were they...
Oh, they welcomed us. And the Japanese landed, wherever they landed, well, they right away tried to just kill everybody that was...
The Japanese were killing off the Filipinos?
Filipinos.
And this is after they bombed Pearl Harbor?
Yeah. When at Pearl Harbor, myself and my two brothers and my dad were sitting by the old Philco radio listening to the attack on Pearl Harbor. And my dad, that's when it really got to him, because he knew he'd just been doing his duty. That was his duty, but the tears just flowed, and he just really felt bad. And he said, I knew something like this would happen, and that, but as I say, well, he was just following directions. And
Was your dad proud of you for being in the Navy? Did he see that as a commendable?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, because he served. How many siblings did you have? Two. A brother?
Two
brothers?
Mm-hmm.
And did they serve?
And they both were in the service too. And I was the only one that got overseas, and that, which is all right with me.
Yeah. Did you hear stories about what he went through, and did he listen to what you went through, or is it something you just don't talk about?
Oh, well, actually, I mean, he got overseas, but it was just to visit, basically. And that there was one spot, I guess, in the Philippines that he visited, where they had a lot of riots and there was killing going on, but he wasn't involved in it. He just saw the results. And so, well, anyway, we got back here. I met Dorothy June. We were married, as I say, by this tree here. And the Boy Scout office was just across the street here, just up from this one here now. And I'd been a scout and that, so I used to come out and go to the Boy Scout meetings here. Things developed. I mean, we had the Boy Scouts that I was working with, and the Girl Scouts, and a group of us one time were just sitting down, and what should we do? We should be doing something about this and that. And at that time, we decided, well, let's have a peace flotilla. And the peace flotilla, this is where they just have little floats and they have a candle inside fastened down, and then sails around them that depict what how the person feels about peace, and that they have peace signs and sayings and so forth. So I said, yeah, well, let's have a peace flotilla, and let's shoot for the I guess August 6th, Hiroshima Day. And somebody got up and said, well, you know, if you try to have this flotilla on August 6th, you're going to lose some scouts, lose people, because the river was really, really high, and I hadn't even thought about it. I was flowing about 3,300 cubic feet per second. Yeah, you're right. And then, so right then, well, we decided, well, we'd move the date of the flotilla and moved it up to the first Sunday in October, which has really worked out nicely, because the river is down to about 200 cubic feet per second, which is quite a bit. And I think up to 150 floats at a time in that. So, family in Hawaii made this.
A family from Hawaii. Oh, isn't that neat?
Wow.
And so how long has it been going now?
Next year will be, it's our 20th year coming up.
Wow.
And we figured that, well, people must think it's okay, or they wouldn't participate in it the way they do.
Do you think that people understand the cost of war other than financial?
They're beginning to realize that the United States, bless us, well, we have never taken any other way to try to settle anything except by war.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, well, especially during when they with Iraq and Iran, I'm just a part of it too. I mean, it's just as much my fault that this has happened. I'm not going to say I didn't have any responsibility, because I did. But there it goes.
It's hard to
Zoom.
It's hard to talk about it, isn't it?
Well, what's hard about it is that we indiscriminately, with not just regular bombs, nuclear bombs, and Agent Orange and that, and we just bombed indiscriminately centers of population, and it was thousands upon thousands of innocent old people, kids, and so forth that were killed. And this is one thing I really have felt bad about, because to me that ain't the way to go.
Yeah.
The reason for the peace flotilla, to try to point out to people, well, one thing, nuclear weapons, bombs and that, absolute abolition
Yeah.
of nuclear weapons, both on land and in the air. And
Did you know they were going to use the nuclear bomb?
no.
Nobody knew?
I
Was
don't
it top?
think anybody knew.
So it was a surprise when it happened?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And where were you stationed when the bomb went off?
I was, I guess, in New Guinea
Yeah.
when that.
What would you say to young people who are thinking of going into the military in any capacity, whether it's the Navy or the Army or...
Well, I tell them that certainly that's their decision, but to really think it over and try to understand how the U.S. has just monopolized everything and have not tried to go the way of the United Nations, for instance.
What was your feeling when all of that came about on Bradley Manning and...
Like Bradley Manning was just a real hero, if you wish,
Yeah.
in that and have somebody that stands up and
Sure did, didn't he?
People were the same way we had it in the activity in the park.
Can I ask you what was your feeling and where were you when 9/11 happened?
Well, I think I was really disturbed that it did happen. I thought it should never have happened.
Yeah.
That was my feeling on it, but it did. I think that this is where you have to stand up and say, well, I think you're wrong, that's my feeling, but in recognizing what 9/11 was all about and what 9/11 we brought on ourselves, I feel. And I think that we've learned a lesson. Now it's time to move on and take the things that we learned from 9/11 and apply them into our future programs and that.
You're obviously of the mind that we should be doing more mediation and not going to war. Were you surprised that they went to war?
Yeah, disappointed. I'll tell you a story about my family with religions and that. I think I told you I was a member of the United Church of Christ. The United Church of Christ has, we say that anyone may come to the United Church of Christ. We have no prejudice or anything against the gay, lesbian, and that. And we have, I had a grandson who was gay when he went to the hospice and was getting his last treatments and that. Well, I used to go in and visit him, and I actually, I had him in my arms when he passed away.
Mm.
And you couldn't find anyone that was more working with people and doing just wonderful things. He really did. And I'm really proud of him, and I guess I'm happy with myself that I can say gay, lesbian, welcome. Pardon?
How old was he when he passed away?
I think 42. Too young.
Too young. Is there anything else that you want to show us? You brought some stuff in. Do you have any other stories that you'd like to tell?
I got stories, but
What's your most memorable? Whether good or bad, what was the thing that stuck with you the most of your service that you think, wow?
I think the in coming home in the way we were treated so wonderfully and everything. Disappointed sometimes with the Jewish people, not all of them. I think there's been a lot of really great things that have happened since they over in Gaza, and that where people, there's been a lot of intermarriage and so forth, which, I mean, this is wonderful. I mean, this is how I feel it should be, that we should be able to get along with the other people and try to understand them, and in return they understand us. I think a lot of good has come from that. I think that sometime the present administration, I get kind of provoked with them, but at least they are working with the United Nations, and that there's much more cooperation than there had been in previous years. I think next Thursday at the Info Center.
Oh, okay.
And that, and if it would be really neat if you could bring some of the things that you're doing and share with them over there. And that's what we do. What I feel is that Veterans for Peace, and I think they do too, is that let's try and get people involved and be able to take something out to our population and give them a chance. And this is our Dorothy and my 50th anniversary.
This is my song, oh God.